Robseco Future Farm. Today's innovations, tomorrow's solutions.
Hello and welcome back to Future Farm. I'm your host Jim Robinson, and here we are in front of one of our production fields with Aaron Wolf, our Quality Business Systems Manager. So welcome back, Aaron.
Good to be here.
Excellent. So Aaron, a couple weeks ago we stood in front of a seed production field to talk about a lot of the in-field activities, and the crop has continued to progress. So where are we at right now, and what's going to happen next?
Well, we're right in the middle of harvest, and so we're in front of our MCT 6408 Duracade. Not quite ready to harvest, but very, very soon.
Okay, yeah, and we were talking a little bit before we started filming that this field's got to dry down a little bit before it's ready to be picked. So what does a seed field need to dry down to in order to be picked?
Well, on the upper end, 38% is really a starting point, but each inbred, each hybrid has its own unique qualities that we characterize, and so some may be as low as 28. It just depends on the inbred and the inbred characteristics.
So Aaron, that's a really high moisture. I mean, I think a lot of guys would be shocked to know that seed production is harvested in the 30s. And so why would we be harvesting seed at such a high moisture content?
Well, in seed production, we want to avoid a frost, and that's why we want to start early. Typically the month of September is our harvest window for seed production, and we want to get it out before our first frost. Frost can really detriment the quality, specifically the germ, colds, saturated colds will all be affected with the frost.
Absolutely, and that's not a good day for the seed that goes into the bag. You really don't want any of that.
Well, in some cases it may not even make it to the bag.
Exactly right. So you can't really pick corn safely for the corn itself at 35% moisture, and so how is it picked?
Seed is picked with a sweet corn picker. It's picked on the ear. Sometimes it's really, really clean and it's just the ear, but it could be the whole stalk. But when it's picked through the picker onto the conveyor into a dump cart. That dump cart then loads a walking live floor semi, and then it's transported to the drying facility.
Okay, perfect. So we get the corn out of the field on the ear, oftentimes with the husk or maybe some more plant material that comes with it. And what happens then? I mean, because this is really wet corn, we don't want to see spoilage. I mean, if you just dump it all together, it's going to spoil.
Yeah, so when it's received at the plant, we'll remove all the plant tissue that comes with it. We just want the ear going into the dryers. So we'll remove all that plant tissue. We'll follow it up with going across sorting tables. At that point, it's one of our last opportunities to peel out any off types, things that don't look right, because it's still on the ear. We could throw those away, and then everything else goes into the dryer as an ear without husk.
So yeah, that, like you said, that sorting table, great chance to toss out off types. So those would be ears that don't look like they're like the rest of the ears, and then maybe anything that has mold or excess damage and that sort of thing. So, I'm thinking about at the farm, when we go to dry corn, we just turn on the dryers and wait till it comes down to 15% moisture. And how does that work in seed?
Well, it's a little bit of an art, but it's also a science too. We load our bins with ear corn in that 9 to 10 foot range. Depth is important. You get it too shallow, and when you turn on the fans and the heat, you could push too much air through it and dry it too quick. Consequently, you go too deep, you can reverse that and dry it too slow. So it's really a right balance of depth with your air pressure and your temperatures.
Yeah, so why wouldn't we want to dry something too fast? I mean, is there an impact on quality, or what happens if you dry too fast?
Yeah, definitely impact on quality. You dry it too fast and you're gonna remove that moisture way too quickly, causing that germ to falter and kill the germ potentially. You dry it too slow, do the same thing. You get wet pockets, potentially in the dryer bin, it doesn't shell right, you damage it at the shelling process.
Yeah, and everything we do, taking the corn out of the field and in through the rest of the processing, is all designed around preserving germination. And so that's why drying is such a critical factor. You don't want to bake it, but also you don't want to have it dry too slow and not actually dry.
Correct.
Yeah, so coming out of the dryer, tell me about the next steps.
So once it's dried, we'll take it to 12.5% moisture is a good target range. And we'll take it to the sheller. It's typically a rotor sheller where we'll run it through, shell it off the cob. The cobs will go to discard, go to another supplier that buys them or uses them. But then the seed is taken from there. It's sometimes cleaned before it goes into bulk storage. And a sample's taken prior to loading it into the bin.
Yeah. So tell me about the sample. So we've got all the seed. It's going to be all the seed sizes mixed together, and it may be stored in bulk for a little while the next steps are in process on the more planning side of things.
Sure. That sample is a representative sample of what we've shelled. It'll take random samples depending on the size of the run, and we'll collect anywhere from 100 to 150 pounds per field or per hybrid, per lot. That sample is then taken and we'll run it across screens to split it between flats and rounds, and then we'll run it across every 1/64 of an inch screens from a 25 down to a 15, and see how that seed breaks down, essentially. Yeah. We'll want to know seed count, bag weight within each of those screens to determine how we want to size it.
Exactly, and these screens, they're basically like slots in a metal mesh, more or less, and large seed doesn't fall through because it doesn't fit through the slots. Smaller seed does, and then it ends up falling to the level that it can no longer fall through, and that's where each of these fall. And so tell me about how do we pick out how we set those screens, because we're not going to sell every 64th of an inch in bag weights. And so what do we do from there?
Well, we'll take that data from that screening process and testing process, and we'll start combining maybe a 25 to a 20/64 screen to see what our bag weight will be and our seed count. That'll help determine how we would want to size it. The other thing that we'll know at that point in time is an estimated number of units we'll receive within those screens. So based on that, what we need for a demand, we'll play around with those screens and kind of determine what's the best fit to optimize units, keep our bag weight in the right range that customers want. We don't want too small, we don't want too large, but at the same time, we're dealing with Mother Nature and a plant material that sometimes will give us large and small seed too.
Exactly, and then, so within each given bag that we eventually end up with, there's usually about a 5/64 of an inch difference in the sizing of the seed in there. If you do it too wide, sometimes you can run into plantability issues. You do it too narrow, and we end up with either too many lot numbers or not enough actual units to meet the demand of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a fun time of the year to try and determine what we're going to have for units, seed size, bag weights, all the above.
It's always an adventure. There's a genetic component, but there's of seed size to every inbred, but there's also a very large environmental component as well. How was the seed or the grain fill period for that seed production?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got all that information. The seed is in bulk, and then we also need to make sure more than just seed size. I mean, there's a purity aspect of seed quality as well too. I mean, we've got trait and genetic purity and germination quality that we've got to worry about. So what's the next step?
So the next steps will be to take each one of those 64ths of a screen, all the seed that goes into it, and combine it back. So if we decided we wanted a 25/20 screen size, we'll combine all those screens together into one lot and into one sample. From there, we'll run our suite of tests for all the germination tests, trait and genetic purity, etc.
Yeah, we have our standards. We set a very high, sometimes it makes it challenging in difficult years, standards for what we need for genetic purity, germination, trait purity, etc. And so we've got to make sure all of that works. And so sometimes there's some adjustments in order to ensure we meet those standards. And then it's off to the races on packaging. Get us from bulk samples where we know what we're going to cut it as, all the way into the bag or box.
Yeah, so from there we'll take how we determine to size it. We'll give those instructions to our producers, and then from there with assigned lots. And at that point in time, we'll determine if we're going to split a specific size into bags or boxes, depending on the demand and the need.
Yep.
Those will all be built into the instructions given to the producer and the conditioning tower, and from there they'll put it into their schedule and start bagging.
These instructions are all driven by the sales forecasts that we ask our sales team to do. And so that's why our sales guys will always laugh about how much pressure we put on forecasting and forecasting accuracy. But this is really where the rubber meets the road and taking those forecasts to deliver a packaged unit in the right package type of the right product.
It is. It helps us, especially when we don't have orders on the system yet, to know what we're going to need. Especially this time of year where we're harvesting potentially today, 4 days in the dryer, a day to shell, few days to run that sample and do the screen sizes, plus a couple weeks to test, and then we're building instructions. So within a 6-week period from harvest, we could be preparing, ready to put product into the bag.
And once that product's in the bag, then everything comes to the warehouse and we get it out to our dealers, our distributors, and our customers, and it's all good from there.
Yes, it is. Yes.
No, I appreciate it. So thank you, Aaron, for walking us through all of that. It's a lot of extra steps that I don't think a lot of us think about as we are selling corn and looking at the bag that's there. It takes a lot of work to go from demand planning all the way through having a bag on the floor that we can ship out to our customers. And so thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.